We have 5 children's hospitals in the United States promoting that.
What?
That's a phalloplasty. That's a bottom surgery.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of I Drive B Reacts. I am Lutch, your host, and today we are going to be going through the very controversial documentary, What is a Woman? So I want to actually give a legit ass trigger warning, because where this goes next gets fucking dark. It gets fucking dark. I am warning you now. There we go.
I never fit. I was an alpha female, a sales executive that kind of just didn't fit in any box. When psychologists or somebody that I was in love with or whatever said that I was in the wrong
So let's take a look at that. This is who we're talking about here.
body, I started to think, well, maybe I am. I'm a biological.
This is Scott Newgent, formerly known as Kelly, founder of Trey Voices.
Woman that medically transitioned to appear like a male through synthetic hormones and surgery. I will never be a man. Is it transphobic for me to tell the truth? Why is it that a couple hundred years from now, if you dug up my body, they're gonna go, yeah, that was a woman?
What was that you brought up earlier, Paul, about balance? Yeah.
It's a callback.
Had babies.
Can you tell me about
This is a mother of 4.
the procedures that you had?
I've had 7 surgeries. I've had 1 stress heart attack. I've had a helicopter life ride with pulmonary embolism. I've had 17 rounds of antibiotics. I had 6 inches of hair on the inside of my urethra.
Do I need to run that back?
No, please don't.
Oh, we are going to.
Is it transphobic for me to tell the truth? Why is it that a couple hundred years from now, if you dug up my body, they're gonna go, yeah, that was a woman. Had babies.
Can you tell me about the procedures that you had?
Okay. I want to warn you. Klug says detransition stories are literally self-mutilation stories with no reversibility. Why would anyone want to do that? I mean, again, if it is something that fits for you as an adult, then that may be something that works for you. But this is why we need to not have gender affirming therapists. This is why we need to have gender therapists who are willing to say, hey, I think you're just going through something. Hey, I think you're just, looking at something else and feeling this way. Where there's other people who genuinely have that gender dysphoria and their surgery might help them. Sure. I'm not saying that doesn't happen. But the fact is that that's not how the industry works. It's an industry. That's what it is. Kylie says, ask yourself why this fucking thing. Ask yourself why this was included in the documentary. These doctors were POS. Nothing to do with current knowledge. Again, and
well, the one counter I'll have to this is there is still detransition stories to this day.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I know you got to go, Kylie. I hope you'll come back and check the rest of the replay. It was good to have you here, and I'm glad we had a little back and forth. Hope I'll see you again soon.
The problem I have with that kind of narrative of trying to say it was like the medicine back then, it really wasn't, right? Is because, let's be honest, there's detransition stories every day where there's a lot of people that regret going through that surgery. It's a very intensive. And like when you finally make that decision, right, to chop it off or get a piece added, it's irreversible in a lot of ways. And it's just like, it's the ugly truth. That's why the trans community has such a high, forever sleep rate compared to a lot of other communities, because once a lot of them, unfortunately, they'll just get gender reaffirming therapists. And maybe not the best advice. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, completely agree. And as Scott here is about to bring up, it's not a, people like to act like the self-deletion rate is so high, and then people get surgeries, and then it's fixed. Well, we're about to see that is not at all the case.
I've had 7 surgeries. I've had 1 stress heart attack. I've had a helicopter life ride with pulmonary embolism. I've had 17 rounds of antibiotics. I had 6 inches of hair on the inside of my urethra for 17 months. Nobody would help me, including the doctor that did this to me because I lost my insurance. I get infections every 3 to 4 months. I'm probably not going to live very long.
Was there any real discussion of the risks and the side?
This fucking broke my heart. This fucking broke my heart. Was there any discussion of the risks or side effects? And look at the pain in this man's eyes.
Effects and
No,
Look at the
it's not.
there we go. Look at the pain in this man's eye. And you want to unilaterally take children and subject them to what might be this.
Yep.
That's what you want. Okay. But I'm not wrong for thinking differently. I have my opinions about your opinions, but I'm not out here calling you names about it and of this phobe and that ist. But maybe we're just different kinds of people.
Mm-hmm.
Any thoughts before we continue?
I think it's sad, and it's just I've kind of, not this story in particular, but I've seen some of the detransition stories that have definitely become more knowledgeable over time. It's not pretty stuff. It's really not.
Yeah, I mean, and he's about to show a scar here.
And I know that people want to think that there is, but there's not. The truth is that medical transition is experimental. We have studies that said that medical transition helps mental health.
So, nonsequentially, I'm curious what you think about the rates of self-harm and unaliving in trans youth when they are not provided with the gender-affirming support. Let's go to Scott, a actual former trans person, an actual detransitioner, and see what he has to say about that.
Kids, they've all been retracted, modified, changed. But the only long-term study tells us 7 to 10 years is when transgender people are the most suicidal.
Wait, whoa. What did he just say? Did he just say what I think he said?
Helps mental health with kids. They've all been retracted, modified, changed. But the only long-term study tells us 7 to 10 years is when transgender people are the most suicidal.
So, yeah.
After surgery.
So, if it's 7 to 10 years, and we are talking about children in the last 5 years, then we would expect that in the next couple years to a decade, that the detransition stories are going to explode.
Yeah.
And I don't know for sure that it's going to happen. I hope that it doesn't. I hope that every single person who has gone through this is at the end of their pain and their journey, and they've found exactly what they need. That's what I hope. But I know not for a fact, but I know in my heart that is not how this works. I would like to see some studies on that. I would like to see some studies on that. Again, I mean, that's what I'm doing here. The idea is that I didn't make this documentary. I am not a scholar. I am simply presenting the information that's in this documentary to you. If this is true, then all you have to do is find the article, copy and paste the link, hit in the comments, and then I've got a video to do tomorrow, and you win the argument, and you changed my mind completely.
Yep.
So that's on you. I'm putting my thoughts out there. Frigo says, bro, do you want the facts or to be right? This is fucked up stuff. Yeah.
But that's transphobic to say. For the first time in history, a marginalized group has a huge dollar sign on the top of their head.
For the first time in history, a marginalized group has a huge dollar sign on top of their heads. Again, that's another claim that's made by somebody in the documentary. And I would love to see some type of evidence that that's not true. But when every single corporation, every little company, even the fucking military is kowtowing to virtue signal about how down with the get down they are with LGBT, QI, plie, TPA, tutu, tata, TT stuff, then what else am I supposed to think? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm stupid and I don't know any better. But that's for you guys to make me look stupid in the comments. I would love to look stupid so that I can stop looking stupid. And if I'm that wrong, then I don't want to be making videos about this stuff anymore. But I need to know that I'm wrong about it. So sorry to interrupt your podcast experience. I just want to remind you, if you're enjoying what you're watching, please hit the like button and subscribe for more content. And if you really love it, there's some support links in the description. I would love if you could help out the channel. And back to the show.
We have 5 children's hospitals in the United States promoting that.
What?
That's a phalloplasty. That's a bottom surgery. We have 5 children's hospitals in the United States telling girls that they can be boys at $70,000 a pop in a surgery that has a 67% complication rate. That will kill me.
So $70,000 a pop at a 67% complication rate. Again, I don't know if that's right or wrong. I'm just watching the documentary. I'm just showing you guys what's in the documentary. If that's wrong, then please provide me with some info. Nonsequentially is dipping out. Thank you so much for watching with us and engaging with the conversation. I do really appreciate it. But he just said, here's a link to a systematic review of the literature when you can find 31 where you can find 31 papers reference. Cool. So I will. I can't copy and paste from here, but I will check that out later. Thank you. I'm not being facetious. I do want to know about this stuff, and if this is some horrible propaganda that is 1,000% wrong, I want to know about it. But I just don't think it is. Moving on.
From infection that I can't sue on. We're butchering a generation of children because nobody's willing to talk about anything. I have 3 kids at the age that they're doing this to kids. I'm not transphobic. I love my kids and I love other people's kids, and you should too.
I mean, how can you say that this is just for shits and giggles?
Yeah, that's rough. That's rough.
I mean, the pain, again, the pain in this man's eyes, or I mean, yeah, I don't remember the pain in this person's eyes.
Yeah.
It's horrifying. And the fact is, even if this is not every case, even if this is 1 in 100, would you really put your children through something where 1 in 100 of them are going to go through these horrible things, lifelong issues, which is going to shorten their life? Maybe, but that's your choice to make. And that should be other parents' choice to make. The children cannot understand the gravity of what they are doing, whether it's the right thing for them or not. They cannot understand that. We are pretty clear about that when it comes to sexual acts itself, that children in no way under any circumstances can consent. But when it comes to mutilating your body, yeah. What does Michelle say? Oh, whenever they feel like it. Babies and infants. Maybe she says that later, but babies and infants. And this is, you're telling me I'm not supposed to say anything or do anything about it? I'm sorry. And again, the point is, if this is all wrong and I'm the one who's being fooled by this propaganda, then that's what I got you guys for. And I appreciate that you're taking the time to go through this with me, and that you would take the time to point me in the right direction and see why am I wrong about this. Frigo says, I also sent you a link on Twitter of the Retraction of the American Journal of Psychiatry's published study from the Karolinska Institute in Sweden and the Yale the Yale School of Public Health back in 2019. So yeah, exactly. And there is a discussion that actually does come up about the being a doctor and being a researcher in this area and what that means and how that works. And they're just it's as corrupt as you could imagine. But again, I don't want to. I'm just talking out of my ass. I'm just watching a documentary. So let's let them say it.
This is wrong on so many levels.
Can kids consent? Do you think kids are capable of
There we go.
consenting?
No, they're not. Being a parent is loving the hell out of your kids and helping them see around corners.
You can just pause puberty
No, you can't.
and then pick it up
No, you can't.
in the future.
No, you can't. How many studies do they have, long-term studies, on hormone blockers with children? None.
So we've got two conflicting ideas here. Either this guy who's been through all of this is kind of just going off his own personal experience, which happened not to be great, or somebody's lying. And it makes sense to me that the doctors who have, as Scott pointed out, so much money to benefit off of these young people in general, young girls, young people, and there are no studies.
Every child that they convince is transgender and in need of medical.
Let's put he's about to drop a number. He is about to put a number on. He's saying every child they convince. I want you to put a number in the chat. And how much money does Big Pharma get for each one of these girls that they convince they need to change their gender? And I'll give you a hint. It's not low.
Transition, it generates $1.3 million to Pharma. And we're believing a pharmaceutical.
Safe.
Let's run
Based on what you're saying, we can't.
back. What did he say? He said it was
Transgender and in need of medical transition, it generates $1.3 million to Pharma. And we're believing a pharmaceutical company, Lupron, hormone blockers, reversible, so they say. Well, the truth is that in 2003, Lupron was sued and deemed a criminal enterprise by the U.S. government.
So again, we're talking about the typical medicines that are used. These puberty blockers. I think it's. I don't even know what. I don't know if it's Lupron, but deemed in 2003. So it was almost a decade ago. Deemed a criminal enterprise by the U.S. government. But it's fine, I guess, right? Why do I even care? Why should I worry about it? Frigo says that's true. The doctors make bank off exploiting the kids. Absolutely. You have to be rich already or make bank to transition with the operation. Yeah, it's not cheap. It ain't free. This is an industry. It's an industry. You think that corporations are buying on are hopping onto this because they care? Sorry to burst your bubble. That ain't it.
Paid the most fine of any pharmaceutical company at that time, $874 million, wrote a check.
Is Lupron chemical castration?
Yes. We're giving it to pedophiles, aren't we? We're giving it to people that are dying, and we're giving it to kids, telling them that they were born in the wrong body and it's completely safe.
Wow. So again, I don't know about this drug, but this is what they use to chemically castrate predators. People who are doing what I think we can all agree is among the worst behaviors that a human can engage with. That's what these people get. And you want to give that to children. You want to give children the right to decide to take that without their parents' consent, against their parents' consent. Okay, I need to see where, make it make sense. Connect the dots for me. Again, maybe I'm just dumb. Maybe I just don't get it. But I need your guys' help. I can't. I'm just watching. And what I'm hearing, along with everything else that I know about life and being a person, lines up. So what am I getting wrong? Despite death threats, Scott continues to warn the public about the dangers of transitioning children.
A parent comes to you and says, my 8-year-old son is telling me he's a girl.
They're great. You're going to have them do an experimental procedure that creates the most suicidal ideation of any other population 7 to 10 years after, transition. And here's what I tell parents. You don't have the right.
There you go. And remember what Dr. Miriam said earlier. Would you rather have a living daughter or a dead son? You make the choice. I mean, while you can, because they're pushing to keep you out of your children's choices.
To medically transition your child.